Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Berry Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. To view, please go and enter in capital letters RBRIMO. Then go to videos and visit our extensive program list. And subscribe. It's free. It's free. I want to welcome our millions of guests, or excuse me, our millions of viewers worldwide, and especially my very talented co-host, Henry Hatter.
Thank you, Ron.
Miss Jackie Williams.
Thank you, Ron.
And Miss Denise Smith-Allen.
Hi, Ron.
Let's talk about fear-mongering. In all the Republican presidential debates, all I heard was fear-mongering. Kill the person, that person, kill the families of the terrorists, drop bombs on that country, refuse to allow innocent people into the United States, on and on and on. Is this type of rhetoric presidential material? Mr. Hatter, what's your thoughts?
Ron, I don't think that there's fear-mongering. I think that if you're referring to Donald Trump,
I'm talking about all of them.
Okay, can I start with Trump?
Sure.
Trump is the person that introduced really militancy into the presidential debate with respect to other countries and building walls, keeping people out, and bombing people. And as you know, the other candidates for the duration of the several debates we've had never once did mention that that was a real growing issue for them. But after Donald Trump, the press found out that Donald Trump was leading the debate and his numbers were growing. The press jumped on his side. And the Republicans now are following the press. And you have the blind leading the blind all the way across the spectrum.
Starting with Trump.
Starting with Trump. But Trump does not do it to fearmonger. He is saying what American people want to hear. That's why his numbers continue to grow. And we have to recognize that Americans have never elected the wrong president. All presidents that have been elected by the American people have been the right people. You can't name one that wasn't. You might not have liked that president, but he was still the American people's choice. And I think that Donald Trump is saying what Americans want to hear. And I think that people are beginning to grasp that there is something to what he's saying. And it's not fear-mongering. He wants to protect our borders. He wants to protect our commerce. He wants to protect our people. He wants to protect our presence in the world. And we need to, as a major industrial power, we need to act that way. We need to thrust our shoulders and show our strength once in a while without going out necessarily and bombing countries. I don't believe that we need to do that, but we can stand up to them. And we don't have to be stepped on by the rest of the world. We've done a lot for the rest of the world as Americans. We've even put the world on wheels here. We've protected their borders. Japan, for example, is protected by us. They don't need a standing army. Of course, in any other country, we've sent troops in to defend the borders when it was necessary. But I think it's about time that we stop doing that and turn inward. And I believe that once we establish a threshold of defense that we feel comfortable with, we can turn our needs and resources internally to the country.
Well, my thought is this, is how can America talk about violence? And America is probably the most violent country in the world, all right? And when you look at all of those candidates up there, all right, okay, they want us to, put boots on the ground and do this and do that, all right, sending our sons and daughters into harm's way, when not one of them jokers up there, their sons, including them, has ever done 1 day of military service.
Well, that may be, but I don't think that all of them don't believe in putting boots on the ground.
And if we go along with this rhetoric, okay, then We'll never stop warring, okay? We'll never stop.
We probably never will anyway.
But that's
human beings.
But that's but it's about time that that I think that leadership. If you're leadership, you lead. A cook once said, either lead, follow, or get your ass out of the way. You know what I mean?
Did he say it like that, Ron?
I'm sure it was a lot improvised.
Well, that's what he meant. You know what I mean? Okay. So leadership is you lead. Okay. You lead, not by hysteria. When Hitler come to power, all right, he was spewing the same kind of foolishness.
And he led.
All right.
He did.
And look at the destruction that he's created. Okay?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
See, look at the
but
destruction.
he led with fear. He led with fear, like he's saying.
Okay.
He led with fear.
And this is what Trump is doing, leading with fear. He's scaring people. And anytime people get scared, all right, well, oh wow, he's got our best intentions. Let's go with that. Let's go. And that's the wrong way. That's the wrong.
But I
that's the
don't
wrong
think
approach.
that every American is afraid. There are some of us that are afraid, probably 60-70% that are afraid, but there are the stalwarts who believe in the Constitution, who believe in justice, who believe in freedom. Those people are not afraid,
Well,
but there are others.
that he should be talking about freedom.
And he is.
As opposed to war and the talk of war
and I agree with
North Korea and things of that nature. Denise, what are your thoughts?
Well, as I sit here and I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm also thinking about the different things that have been, presented to us again through the media. And it makes me give pause to the idea that, a lot of this stuff is like a smoke screen. Because, right now interest rates are going to start climbing, okay? And people are already having a hard time making ends meet and that kind of thing. So there is no real substance in terms of talking about jobs and things that are really important to people. And so by stoking people's fears, you're not really addressing the meat and potato issues that people are having, just trying to make something of their lives in terms of just every day, the grind. How do I make it? How do I finance to make sure my home is taken care of, my families, and those kinds of things. And so this diversion is dividing up this nation. We already know we've got like the haves and the have-nots, and the middle class is basically being eroded each year. Where there's less and less, and so there's got to be, after this election, however it turns out, I'm hopeful that whoever is in that office will look at the country as a whole. This country now is becoming more and more. We've got more immigrants. We've got more people coming in. And how are we going to maintain some type of equilibrium so that people are not suffering? So those are my concerns. Those are my questions. And right now, those questions certainly aren't being answered directly. Like I said, we get this smoke screen, and it's not good. And the people who have control of the agenda, asking the right questions and putting forth, we are concerned globally. We've got all kinds of things happening. But what's going on in the United States? Let's look at what's happening at home.
It's the press that's asking the questions. And
I understand.
All are about war.
Yes, and I know that.
American people are interested in jobs, and they're interested in education. They're interested in all the things that you say that they should be interested in, but they can't get there because the press is guiding the platform.
Well, I don't know, because
the press and the Republican Party. It's been the party of no.
No.
Even before Trump ever come on the scene.
They sat down and did a negotiation because Trump wanted to be paid, $2.6 million to do the last debate, because he said that he should make money off of what they're getting. So they submitted, and they had contracts where they submitted the question that they were willing to answer. So they are controlling the questions.
Controlling?
The Republicans. They said it on
No,
TV.
the press controls them. The
I'm sorry, not
Republican
just
Party,
all of them. You
the Republican
you probably
can't
said
control
some
the
questions.
press.
No, they sat down and look it up. They sat down and they went over the guidelines, and that's why they weren't going to have the last debate, because they wanted to agree what they could be asked. If you notice, it was questions they were very comfortable with answering, because, and back to the fear thing. Like you said, it was just like following the leader, because Trump started, and then everybody else got tougher and tougher. Christie started calling the Obama names after he hugged him last year, and saw how good of a job he did when he saved him. And he started saying how weak we are. They're trying to point everything that Obama is weak by how he's handling our situation. And what they were not dealing with is that we've had 10,000 airstrikes since all of this stuff has happened. So he's not just standing still, but what he did say was he's being considerate of the people who actually have to go on the ground. And it's people's family members that he has to ship back here and answer to their families, you know, why your child didn't make it, because we're fighting over something. But Obama did stand up, so the fear is just something that they're trying to create, because he did tell the other countries, you guys need to come to the table and do what we're doing. We're not doing any more until you guys step up. So he did say that, but you're not listening to what he said because you're trying to build a case. And also he talked about, they talked about how they would deal with the different countries. And the thing is this, you cannot go into the highest power of presidents, being the president, being a bully. We're going to be in war.
We've had them all of our nations.
We've never had a bully.
That's why we
Donald Trump is a
all
bully.
of the country from the east to the west, the south to the north.
Donald Trump is a bully. He's calling out people. He's talking about how he's not going to talk to them, how he's going to blow them up. He's threatening ISIS, and he's telling them how we're not going to have. We have never had a presidential candidate to say this kind of stuff ever. Ever.
No.
Donald Trump will destroy America.
Who's fear-mongering? You are?
No, I'm just telling the truth.
We are.
Donald Trump.
The American people are as stable as this tabletop. The American people are as stable as this tabletop. And you're talking about one segment of what the president does, and that's foreign policy. You have not turned to domestic policy. That's
because he doesn't know about.
Hang on, we're talking about the things that our relationship with foreign countries and what we plan to do. But that's only a small segment of what the president does.
Well, that's true, and that's why
the candidates that you said that someone said that President Obama was dumb. President, does he look dumb? Does he act dumb? Does he admit that he's dumb? He does not. And the American people think that he's really. Some of the American people think that could be one of our great presidents.
But I go back to that idea of the smoke screen, because if you're talking all of this stuff, and it's as it relates to foreign policy, and people, the American people, want to hear about domestic.
Yes, they want
to hear about domestic policy. So why?
So why?
Yeah, well, yeah, so does everyone. And it's, you're saying the media is generating this thing, but what control or what how are we empowered to help change that conversation?
You mean we
the people?
The press is probably the most formidable influence in this country today. The free press. And they decide what the agenda is.
Okay, tonight is the Democratic debate. Let's see what those topics are.
I'll enjoy them.
Because the press is also responsible for, let's see what those topics are, because I would love to have this conversation with you after we watch it.
Okay.
Because...
But it won't change much, because
well, that's what you said.
I expect for the candidates in the Democratic Party to be tough, to be strong. Don't want to have our president compete with a weakling. Got to be the best there is, like I am here. When I represent the Republican Party, I'm not a weakling. I represent it with enthusiasm and energy.
You should.
Yeah, and that's why you guys probably respect me, even though you don't like me.
Oh, Henry. No, Henry.
You're misguided.
You're doing the fear thing. You're a Republican.
Trying to use that psych on us.
Just call him Henry Trump. Let me ask this question. I keep hearing this over and over and over and over, all right? We want America back. Back from what and from who?
That's a scary thing,
Right.
because all I think about when people say that, they are wanting things to go back to the status quo, to the things that made them feel comfortable. And then you're talking basically about the majority population, because there was an order of things, and things have gotten out of order, and now they're going to have to do some serious competing with people who don't look like them, as well as folks that are coming from other parts of the world. And that is very uncomfortable. And so let's go back to that order where things were segregated, or things were, people were on the bottom and certain people were on the top. So I see that as major steps backwards, and I'm really thinking that it's an illusion, because it's not going to happen.
I don't think that people who say, well, I want to take the country back, from what I ask, we're all Americans under the same Constitution. It doesn't even make sense. When do we take a look at logic? Am I on this only at this table on the side of rational Americans? Or are you guys just bumping along with your eyes closed, heads in the sand? Nobody believes that stuff. And besides, there are only 33% Republicans in this country. There are 43% Democrats, and the rest independents. Is the Democrats and independents against Republicans? That just tells you right now that Republicans are a majority, and they shouldn't be saying that, because they don't have enough numbers to take the country back.
But I don't think it's just Republicans. I think it's people who are
the Democrats.
No, they're covered with hate. Because what it is back to what Denise was saying, and that was a very good point, is when they say take it back, because I watched a show last night and they were talking about taking it back. They, a lot of people wanted to go back where they approved for us to vote. They approved for you to get a job. They approved for you to have this. They didn't have to be in the need. It was just us in the need. So now that some of them can be in the need too, they don't like that, because they feel like they have lost power because of us. It's not that we have worked our way up, because a lot of us have worked our way up. It's that they feel like we could never be their equal. And that's what they said on the show last night.
Who said that?
I will send you the link.
Is this a comedy site?
No, this is what I'm...
Who is it?
These were people they interviewed from the South, and what they were saying was they wanted to go back how it was when the Confederate flag ruled, and we had the same, and what happened under the Confederate flag. All you had to do is go back and think. What was under the Confederate flag? Slavery. We didn't have voting rights. We weren't able to purchase land. We weren't able to be free. We had to work for them. So just imagine all the benefits they had. They had all kinds of benefits, because you can have the slaves work all day and you're arrested.
We'll never go back to slavery.
500 years
We
of
will
free
never go back to slavery.
Very good. 500
maybe
years
you guys want to go back, but people like me.
No, we're not doing that.
No,
we're not doing that.
No.
Unless people continue to sleep.
And besides, the people who are talking that way, they have about as much impact as you would have dipping your hand in a bucket of water and pulling it out, and the hole you left would represent what they...
I disagree, because if you look up and see all the people that really hold on to that Confederate flag, and when they had to take it down, how they fought and fought and fought, people really are connected to that era, and they feel like it was what they deserved, not, and they feel like we did not deserve to be free from that. Well, so you go back to all the Confederate fights and whatnot, and it'll tell you how important it is to them.
I have no qualms against the Confederate flag.
So what does it represent?
I don't worship it. The only flag I fly is the American flag.
But what does the Confederate flag
It represents the old South. It represents
domestic terrorism. That's what it represents.
Well, to some it does.
All
people in this country don't worship the Confederate flag.
Well, that's true. We understand that.
Our country could not stand if we had that kind of opposition.
Well, but we're talking about the segment that is being fed. They're being fed, and so a lot more of that that hate mongering is
There's
being
a lot of hate mongering
fed.
out there.
It's
Right.
being fed.
But it does not represent the American people.
We understand that.
Thank
You, I, and everybody in this room understands that, but a lot of people do not.
Understand.
And that's what's dangerous. And that's why I'm saying it's incumbent upon people who are in the know to help explain it and help folks to understand
We'll
it.
never go back to the
You know, well, we understand that, Henry, but what I'm saying is that the stoking of this fear is bringing out behavior
Very.
that had been, you know, suppressed. Okay, and now it has become okay to be this way again. It's becoming okay to be this way. Yes.
Why do you feel that way? And you were born American. You grew up American. You learned American values. You live as Americans do, under the Constitution, freedom, stuff like that. And yet you feel threatened by what a tiny sliver of people say, that they're going to send you back to slavery. It is not likely.
Henry, I'm not saying they're going to send me back anywhere.
Well,
Okay.
Jackie.
Okay, I'm not saying that.
Or me.
I am not saying that
You
at
better
all.
hope they don't come out there and
Yeah.
get you.
Okay. Okay. But I'm saying that, you know, you don't want to take these things lightly.
Right.
Okay. Because here, since all of this hate has been spewed and all of this stuff is starting to manifest itself in different ways, I'm looking at some people right now who are Middle Easterners who may own stores in this community, who are now being they haven't been vandalized or anything like that, but they're being treated differently and more harshly. Okay, and so if you continue to have people like Trump spill that kind of hatred, that's going to escalate, and there's going to be more and more incidents.
But, you know, now try to imagine what stimulates a person to think that way. There's got to be something that drives it. When you see people who are beheaded right in front of you for causes associated with religion or a belief system, or I don't know what the ISIS wants or Al-Qaeda. There's just too many things that we don't know about them. We really can't make good judgments about this yet. We need to have more information. And besides, there are some things that says that people who are in ISIS and Al-Qaeda are not bad people. If you take a look at the Quran and see what it says that Islam is not a religion of violence. Have you
But
read
it's
that?
not- it's not
Hang on now. It's not a religion of violence, but we see just the opposite. We see just trains blown up, buildings blown up, people are killed and demeaned and stuff like that. But that's contrary to the teaching of Islam. Why then? We have to find out what is driving this. What can Americans do to remedy the situation? Anything that we can do, if we can, and they will allow us, and we'll allow ourselves to sit down at the table and listen to other people. But you can't continue to kill people and say that we respect a religion that does this. Not even Christianity. We don't see this in Christianity.
But it has had it. It has happened.
Don't go back to the past. It's
Yes.
not here now. That was then, this is now.
But you can't leave the past and separate it from the future.
But we don't bring in conflicts of the past right now. We need to solve the problems right now without contaminating our discussion.
But the thing that is driving a lot of this too is a historical conflict between Christians and Muslims.
Ours.
That yes, it is. It is ours. But it's becoming that way.
We have freedom of religion.
We have the freedom.
You can have your religious beliefs here.
That's
but
true.
You can't do things that completely erode folks' belief in religion. You can't suppress Christianity.
You
must allow it to exist.
can't right now here in America. But what I'm saying is, this is a global situation. These things that are happening are not just happening in their region; they're happening in on other continents.
Yeah,
and so it's a global situation. And so what we need to do, again, yes, you're talking about understanding what's going on, but you also know that there's a certain segment in all religions that can be fanatical.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Fanatical, and so when you've got fanaticism going on, you can't reason with people like that.
Yeah, this is what we need to get over, that fanaticism. And already the Quran says, and I read it to see why do we have so much conflict. And but what I read and what I see are two different things. Because I don't know that much about them as much as other people know. I want to, and I want to be friends of other people, but I have to protect the homeland first.
But you have to understand what control we have. Right now, Donald Trump is being given the power to pull so many people into negative things, and so they have burned up some mosques. They burned up some mosques under him, saying that he's going to ban them from coming here. So what we're saying is, in order to heal us and figure out what ISIS is doing, we don't need to stir up the pot and make it worse by saying we're going to, we're
saying the same thing, you and I are.
Yeah, so, we don't need to make the thing worse and say that they can't come here, we're going to ban them, because everybody is not bad. So all the Syrians, they got put out of their area with the terrorists as well. So they're looking for refugees. They need to be freed too. So a lot of them are victims too. So we have to be careful when we have power and how we're pushing people, because everybody is not strong.
That's
and
right.
They'll follow. And like you said, some mentally ill people, they'll say, well, I'm going to take out some people.
Yeah, and I think that we're on the same boat. We need to find out more, Ron, about who these people are, and we need to have an Arab, a person from ISIS, come and join us, and make sure you check him to make sure he does no...
See, now here you go. Here you go.
Hang on, no. We don't know. This is the news media.
I happen not to know any ISIS or ISIL or Al Qaeda.
Well, we need to learn
for you folks out there, and the FBI, the CIA, and the DEA, and all the rest of that, all the rest of you folks out there, I absolutely know none of them. But let me just say this: a little history here. When President Reagan, when Reagan was president, he armed the Taliban and told the CIA to train bin Laden, which led to 9/11. Reagan and Bush Sr. gave chemical weapons to Saddam, which led to the first Iraq War. Junior Bush launched the second Iraqi war based on lies, which created ISIS. Remember that. The next time someone tells you the Republicans are better at keeping America safe. This has been a very stimulating conversation. We've got to revisit this again.
Why not?
Soon. I want to thank our millions of viewers worldwide. And remember, check our catalog of fine shows. All you have to do is go to capital letters RBR IMO. And then go to the mouse and put that arrow on videos. We've got dozens of fine programs, okay? And pass those along to, everybody on your email lists. And subscribe to our programs. It's all free. It doesn't cost you a thing. But I want to thank my co-host, Mr. Henry Hatter, Mrs. Jackie Williams.
Thank you, Ron.
And Miss Denise Smith-Allen.
Thank you,
Until
Ron.
next time, this is Ronald Berry Robinson and friends saying, stay focused.